Yes, right now, this is space. I have space. I just got done drinking wine. I'm talking to beautiful people. Like, I can't tell you, my mother had that opportunity to put her feet up. I know for a fact she was working her ass off and came home and like, you know, at 23, she had 2 children. And so she's navigating marriage and all that stuff. She didn't win. Right. And so like, there's this level of like, so I need this. So how can I give this to the community? And how can I make y'all want this shit too?
Let me be the one. Do you mind if we talk for a minute, babe? Don't mean to catch you off guard, 'cause I know we're on a break, but we need to communicate. Silent treatment is not okay, unless the plan is for you to throw this away. Let me be the one to show you what I won't always have to take control. Baby, you're so lost. How are we gonna fix this if you don't let me in? I'm not the enemy, it's me and you against this, against this. It's me and you against this. Never hesitate to call on me. Look, you know I'm all you need, and I wanna make a vibe with you. I wanna spend my life with you, baby.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Cut the Small Talk. My name is Christina Damon and I'm your host today. I want to introduce you to all these fabulous ladies I have around me. So we're just going to go ahead and say your name and your astrological sign, starting with Brit.
My name is Britney Ray Reese. I'm an Aries, so fire. That's me.
I'm Mariah Stewart, and I'm an Aries as well.
Christina again, and I am a Gemini, add an air to the Aries fire over here.
Jalisa Williams, I'm a Scorpio. I'm an Aries moon, if that means anything to you.
That's your emotional self.
Oh, no. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yes. My name's Elizabeth, but I go by Betty. I'm a Libra, so Libra gang, just turned 26.
Happy belated.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to add some balance to this group. Well, welcome. Thank you all for joining us. So Cut the Small Talk, of course, is a podcast dedicated to some of the deep conversations, but also just to create a place of belonging for Black women. So the first thing I want to ask you all is, how are you doing with everything being remote and just with the quarantine? How are you doing?
Well, I would say, so I own a fitness and nutrition club for women of color, and we're actually Colorado's first fitness and nutrition club. So we have a brick and mortar for women of color, that is. So we have a brick and mortar, which we just opened up our larger location last year and experienced like a great year to then have COVID happen this year when we were projecting to double what we did last year. So it forced us to like pivot hard and fast. We had no time to just think about it because we have, you know, clients with goals. Like, we're a service-based industry where people, their goals don't stop just because of pandemic or whatever it may be. So we're now really about 90% virtual, and it's forced us to totally change our business model, which is a good and bad thing, you know, because we had some big dreams for more locations, but virtual is like just a whole nother beast. But thankfully, just, you know, our clients are pretty loyal, so they've been able to rock with us for the most part.
I have so many questions for you.
Me too.
I know.
I think I guess my biggest word this season has been adapting. Have a lot of like changes that have happened, good and bad. And I think COVID has brought about me having to adapt quickly, even if I don't want to. So with work. So I have, I would consider myself a creative hustler because I don't do just one thing. I have my 9 to 5 that I do, but I also am like a talent. So I'm part of a talent agency, and I have my podcast, and I do a lot of other stuff on the side. So I feel like here in Denver, you have to do stuff on the side, or else how you gonna survive? So, but yeah, so with everything, even with like 9 to 5, I have to adapt. My boss just moved, so she lives all the way in San Diego, and I'm here. So like trying to navigate that, and then like, you know, there's been a lot of other things that have happened, like family-wise, and just adapting with that, all simultaneously still trying to like do stuff for my talent agency. So it's been different. I won't say it's been terrible, but it's been different. Right. Yeah, so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I can just tell you, I'm a teacher, and it has been a huge shift since COVID started. I think that when it first started, they just got on the intercom and was just like, hey, grab whatever you think you need. We may not be back. And so, you know, I had my succulents. I just went to the school. Like 2 weeks ago. I got back to the school, and them little succulents, they were so dried up. I was like, oh, baby. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I was going to be back. But, you know, I think that the COVID has spurred a lot of creativity in a lot of ways, you know, and there's some things that we're doing right now for students that I want to continue to do even if we return back to in-person. But I think that it's also uncovered like a huge equity issue in education, I think in a lot of businesses. I know that even now, with it about to be October, we still have students who don't have access to Wi-Fi or things like that, or it's just very difficult for them to be learning just using the computers and such. And so the biggest joy for me so far has been getting up in the morning and seeing all the little 6th graders in the virtual classrooms, you know, because everybody is, like you said, adapting and just rolling with it, and the kids included. And so it's funny watching the kids figure out virtual etiquette. Like, do I say I gotta go to the bathroom, or do I just put like BRB? I was like, put BRB, it's okay. You know, and then also like one of my kids was cooking on the stove, I was like, turn your camera off. Like, I get it, but like, you know, but it's like everybody is just living and doing what they can. So I'm definitely, I feel like I'm in a better space than when the COVID first started, because I was just like, dang, I don't got my happy hours with my other Black educators to talk about things. I felt like my normal spaces of healing were not available, you know, and I think now we've all been able to kind of reconnect and have that again. So
for me, so I think again, like I wear a lot of hats, like I feel like all of us do. I feel like low-key COVID, I like manifested this joint, yo. Like I was like, yo, all I need is Wi-Fi, and I can do my job anywhere, right? Like that's my goal. Like I just need internet access. So I'm a professor. I teach over at Metro. And thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's cool. Like this semester, I'm officially full-time faculty, but I've been doing like affiliate work for the last few years. I also teach over at Regis and at DU, all in their social work departments, and I teach courses like power, privilege, oppression, creative approaches to change. So I talk about a lot of Black shit, and I'm a young Black professor, and so I tend to talk to a lot of white folk. And so over the summer, it was interesting just kind of trying to navigate how I'm not worried about curriculum. I need to talk to y'all about like the protests, right? Like I don't even really care about this paper anymore. I need y'all to go do some like research on Black folk that have recently been murdered, right? You know, like trying to navigate that and make it make sense. And I'm also a therapist, so I have a therapy practice. I'm a clinical social worker. And so I have a therapy practice. It's based out in Aurora, but we virtual, and I ain't seeing nobody in real life for a minute. And I focus on working with Black and brown and queer folk, and that was fine. Honestly, that transition, it made it easier for my people, because all they had to do was turn on their laptop versus, oh snap, let me get through traffic and let me get over here. And it was like a stress to go to therapy versus like, okay, cool, let me go ahead and just turn it on, right? So that was easy. And then I'm a yoga instructor, and so
you are healing across the board. I'm like, healing my spirit. just being in proximity.
So I appreciate that. No, yeah, like, I mean, I'm very intentional in regards to, like, what I do is very holistic. Everything I do is very holistic, very black-based. And so my yoga is, I started Black Girl Magic Yoga in, like, 2016 at Urban Sanctuary, which is in 5 Points, right? I don't do it as much anymore because I'm busy. But even navigating that, like, I've been doing a lot of, like, care circles for folk, like virtual care circles, just holding space for, like, black bodies to talk about things. And it's quicker and easier to give you a Zoom link again versus being like, all right, cool, we about to meet up at Curtis Park, you know, at 5:30 and we're gonna blah blah blah, because, like, it's like, yeah, we absolutely will do that. And also, I don't think I'm gonna make it, Jay. I'd rather just, like, roll my blunt and, like, chill at my house and watch Netflix, or I'd rather just, like, take a bath and, like, drink some wine. I don't feel like, and so in reality, like, it's been good for me. It's been really good. It's nice. It's a flow. And so I've even been navigating imposter syndrome, right? Because I've been very abundant this season. I've been very able to navigate and move it around. And so it's hard to even be in spaces and talk about that because it feels,
especially academia.
You feel bad.
I feel bad. I'm like, yeah.
Especially in academia.
Yeah, but you're deserving of it, though.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah.
Thank you for that.
Totally.
Quarantine, man. I'm a social person, so not being able to see people or hug people, like, took a toll on me because I didn't realize how much that interaction means to me and how I feed off of it, you know? So it took a lot, but it stirred up my creative side a lot because I write poetry and I battled with stage fright a lot. So I joined, like, an online virtual poetry slam, and I just was like, okay, well, if I'm gonna do it now. And, you know, so I started getting out of my shell and writing more and stuff like that. So it really forced me to deal with self. There's a lot of things I was avoiding until it's like, you can't go nowhere. You can't see your friends. You're here. You're dealing with you know? So it helped me really, like, learn a lot, but I think it's been good. Like, looking back, I'm grateful for it, actually. That time apart to really heal. It healed me in a weird way. I healed a lot. Like, I went into it broken, but I came out whole. It's weird, but
I like it.
I love that.
That's
Okay,
good.
poet. I love that.
You can tell she a poet. You can tell she was like, oh, easy. Butter. Next.
I love that you said that, though, that, you know, that you need, like, that kind of healing. I feel like as a community of Black people in general, like, that's the downside to this whole pandemic is that, like, usually when things happen, like with the riot, the everything happening, we usually can link up, you know, hug each other, have a sense of community. But now it's like, I don't even want to hug you because I might make you ill. Like, it's like, you know, so you can't even, like, you don't even want to go visit the elders in your family because they're the most, you know, the most susceptible to get sick. So it's like you feel a certain way about going to visit them. Like, with me, I'll be transparent. My grandmother just passed, and she's like the matriarch of our family. And for a while, I didn't want to go visit her because my family was in Detroit, Michigan. So I didn't want to visit her because I didn't want to put her at risk of passing away. So I, you know, wasted a lot of time being here just with the thought of me making her more sick than she already was. And I wasted out a lot of time without spending with her. So, you know, battling with that. But it's just like, damn, this whole thing has really been, you know, terrible for people who, you know, really rely on that sense of community and that sense of healing. So, I don't know, that's been the hardest part about this whole thing. Even if you're not an extroverted person and you're just an introvert, you still need that kind of sense of community. So, yeah.
I kind of heard all of you say something similar, and just like, first of all, everybody's been entering this creative space during the quarantine of like, dang, I really have to face myself and everything else going on and create things or create ways. But also just like, I think all of us have had to balance like all of the disappointment and heartache that has come with Breonna Taylor, with all these injustices throughout the country, in addition to personal stresses like your grandmother passing away, and then being able to show up. You know, so, you know, and it's just like, I feel like that is something that is unique to Black people, particularly Black women.
Yeah, it's that superwoman syndrome. And that's honestly like what kept me going. You know, obviously a pandemic is a great excuse to stop business for a minute, take a sabbatical, but I wasn't even thinking about myself. I was thinking about the women that we serve. who I know firsthand suffer from that superwoman syndrome, which is I got to do it all. Yeah. And I got to do it all for everyone else and put myself on the back burner. And so knowing that just them taking maybe an hour out of their day to dedicate towards their health and wellness is their escape. Like, I'm like, I can't take that away from them, especially during a time like this when we need some type of escape. You know, we don't have a community, that physical connection that we can make. So it's like, it was interesting that my thought process was, okay, I got to keep working to help them achieve balance. But if you ask about my balance, yeah, it's shot. Like, there's no boundaries, especially now, because it's like I could just roll out of bed and turn on my camera and start training and do it from as early as 5:30 in the morning to 7:30 at night.
These virtual days
Yeah.
have no boundaries.
No, your work is
You
at
have to
home.
create it.
Everything's at home.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you gotta have some automated messages ready to send out at 5:30. You know, like, I'm sorry, you're reaching me beyond my virtual hours.
Right.
Like, literally, though.
For real,
Yeah,
people will
yeah.
overstep their boundaries most
Yeah.
of the time. Yeah.
Thinking about the
even
strength
more.
Yes. Thinking about the strength of black women, I saw this quote from Maya Angelou, and she says, there's something fearsome about the strength of a black woman. It's as if an iron rod runs from head to heel, from their head to their feet. And I was like, damn, like, that's so real. Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about your fitness business, and congratulations. And it has a brick and mortar, and it's, you know, yes, specifically for black women or black people of color.
Yeah, women of color.
Women of color. Yeah. So how have you been able to attract attention to your business with everything going on?
So just as of late or just over the years?
Over the years.
A lot of it has been word of mouth. And, you know, black women, brown women, it's all about who tells you, like, gives you that referral. We don't trust nobody unless homegirl told me or whatever, or even her homegirl told her. So we respect that, and that's a big part of our business, is being culturally responsive and just being understanding of how we work and how we navigate, from even when it comes to prospecting clients. So making sure that we build trust with, maybe it just be our mom's friends, you know, and then from there asking them to refer some other people. So definitely word of mouth. And I would say since the pandemic, we've been more in the forefront, which before, I run the business with my sister. So before, we were both very not into being on social media, not doing videos, not posting pictures of us. Like, you would rarely see us. We were just like, okay, our clients and what we're doing. But this has forced us to publish videos and just ongoing content, doing lives and all of that. And honestly, if we would have did that 5 years ago when we started, no telling where we would have been, because just within this year, I kind of feel the same way as you. So many opportunities and growth has happened because of the force of the pivot and moving into those uncomfortable zones. So we've gained a lot of new interest in clients from social media, Instagram, Facebook, Google, and then even getting different media attention.
Nice. I feel like I should back up. I'm like, you start talking, I was like, you know what, I kind of want to know, so this is for all of you, you know, when you are creating, or you're creating new initiatives or joining things, is it because you are passionate about that particular thing, or do you look out into the community and you're like, dang, this is a void that I feel needs to be filled, and I feel like I could provide that service? So what spurred you to create your podcast, or you know what I mean? What was the need that you saw needed to be met?
Initially, when we started the podcast, sorry, me and my friend, we started the podcast. We just didn't see two black women in Denver talking about shit, dating, love, sex, relationships, and now that she has a daughter, you know, parenting, and just a lot of other stuff just being brought about. So we were like, then let's start it ourselves. And so that's kind of what we did. We seen a need for it. With the events that I create, as far as our podcast event, we didn't see a live podcast event, so we did that. And then I personally didn't see a speed dating event for a lot of people. So that was really fun.
I'm married now, but I would have been in that thing.
Everybody's like, why are you doing that? I'm sorry. But yeah, so just definitely seeing a need for it, and then I wouldn't say taking advantage of it, but like trying to fill that gap of that need. For me, it was Melanin Voices. But like you guys said earlier, I definitely have used this pandemic as a way to say, sorry, we'll be back. We're closed at the moment until we can come back full. Because right now we're just going through a lot, so we want to come back with a lot of like energy versus like, oh, we have to do another episode. You know, I want to be able to come back and give our listeners like our full selves. Right. So yeah.
That's real. I think about, so when I started yoga, I started doing like Soulflower Experience. It started in 2016 after I got out of grad school. And I had done a research project, and my dissertation was called "There Are Too Many Skinny White Girls in My Yoga Class, How to Get Black Bodies in Holistic Spaces." And like, it was just like, why do I Rosa Parks myself when I go to a yoga class? Like straight up, I've been doing yoga since I was 13 because I had shingles. All right, so let's talk about shingles. Is like a stress-induced like issue. It's like chicken pox up and down your nervous system at 13. Why are you stressed out at 13, right? So like it even kind of gives me a tangent in the regards to like, when do black women get to rest? After that like superwoman construct, like when do we get rest, right? And so once I started yoga, it was like, oh, okay, well, we don't go to yoga classes because it's too expensive. I'm not spending $20 to go to Core Power to sweat behind Adam, right? Like that ain't gonna happen. Like straight up, right? I'd rather take 10 and go do something over here. I'll take 5 and get food. I'll take the other 5 and put in the tank, right? Like just think culturally, like that doesn't make sense, right? Music feels weird. So depending upon like religious background, like you walk into some yoga classes, it seems like a cult. You know what I mean? Like they I was just trying to stretch. Like I don't even know what we doing. Like what is this?
The whole podcast episode in and of itself.
Right? It's a lot scary. So like that was the construct. It was yoga teachers didn't look like them. So like your yoga teachers usually like some skinny white girl with like Lululemon pants on, with a Starbucks cup in her hand, and that's not us. You know, just we didn't relate. And then like the biggest one in the research was black bodies in particular. We have trauma in our bodies, right? So like on a big level, epigenetical trauma. So like the shit that we are dealing with. So I think about my shingles. My shingles weren't because I was stressed out at 13. My shingles were due to the fact that like in my DNA, my mom didn't deal with her shit. Intergenerational. My grandmother didn't deal with her stuff. Like my family didn't have opportunities to deal with their stuff, right? And so like, you know, this is retrospect, you know, years later, but there was a need for us to rest. How can we rest? And I was like, shit, let's do yoga. And like, I do yoga very different, right? So I have a podcast as well with a friend of mine, Leslie Pace. It's called The Soul Subliminal. And so we do like meditations, we do soul subliminal stuff. We have conversations with different folk in the community. And it's very much so associated with like, how can we slow down, y'all? Like, cause we need to, because like our ancestors didn't get to. Like at all. And like, that's where the imposter syndrome comes from. Cause I'm like, I have space to put my feet up. Like dead ass right now, this is space. I have space. I just got done drinking wine. I'm talking to beautiful people. Like I can't tell you, my mother had that opportunity to put her feet up. I know for a fact she was working her ass off and came home and like, you know, at 23, she had 2 children. And so she's navigating marriage and all that stuff. She didn't win. Right. And so like, there's this level of like, so I need this, so how can I give this to the community? And how can I make y'all want this shit too?
Yeah. Right.
That's the next question coming up. I'm like, okay, put that in the queue real quick.
Yeah.
I actually have a question to pose. As black women, do you feel like we're obligated to carry the whole burden of everything we're going through without having an outlet? As far as like families, like we've seen our moms do it, we've seen our grandmothers do it. Do you think it's ingrained in us to carry everything on our own without asking for help?
Oh, yes.
Erica Badu, bag lady, told you, yes.
She told me, Erica said,
she said, you carrying too much shit, you gonna miss your bus. Right. And we were like, what does that mean? And I was like, you're right. I didn't know what that meant at first when I first heard. Right, yeah, you're like, oh. Oh, that's what that means.
So how do you unload that burden that is built in to you? You know?
You first have to unsubscribe to that because like I think about my mom, you know, from when we were young, like Saturdays for us was not like any other kid. We didn't get to sit in pajamas and turn on cartoons. Like it's like the moment you hear some music playing, that means you better get a broom, get a rag.
I know. For me, it was Les Nubians. I'd be like,
So this is that D'Angelo playing, not brown sugar, not brown sugar.
Everybody got that one song they just knew, like, shit.
That was a song. You get up and you
Curtis
are
Mayfield
cleaning.
too.
Then when you're done cleaning, you shower. Then you running errands with me. Then after that, you doing this. And it was like, I'm 5. Like, can I live my life?
And you don't pay rent, so get out.
Right. So I think it's just something that, you know, it's taught, but as we get older and kind of regain our power, it's like we then have to make the decision, like, is this the life that we want? Is this what we agree with? Because obviously we didn't have no say back then.
Yeah.
So now we have a say, like, am I going to continue to subscribe to that? And I feel like I had to come to Jesus with that just recently, like, okay, like, this ain't right. Like, this has literally put me in a position to where it's not conducive for, like, building. You know, you're kind of making all these lateral movements when you're just going. But it's like, if you want to grow, you actually have to take that time to rest, to chill, to reflect, to do all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've been seeing so many more, like I know that you have your own practice, and then I know about Element Up Discovery as being another one. That's where I've had my first Black therapist, first Black marriage counselor, you know what I mean? And then at my school even, we have a Black trauma-informed social worker, we have a Black social worker. MLK, I'm like, don't even get me started on MLK. I'm like, it's a whole Wakanda out here, but I am just seeing, though, I'm happy to see that more initiatives that are especially geared for Black people, particularly even like Black women, because I just feel like you're saying, the intergenerational passing down stress and trauma, you know, I don't think that any of our ancestors had an opportunity to be like, okay, you know what, I need to just take a day off and go see and go see a mental health provider. Yeah. So I feel like I think I have way more outlets for healing and to lend an ear and all that than anyone before me. You know, and our ancestors would have dreamed of having some of these opportunities and connections and stuff that we have today.
Absolutely.
For sure. So I want to I've heard imposter syndrome come up like 3 times. And I know I have felt it. I know all of us in this room have felt it. In what ways have you felt this in your field, or just even in your learning? Because I know that classrooms are historically hotbeds for this kind of thing. And then how do you navigate that now? You can take. I can share. Okay, I'm gonna share. It's okay. I'm gonna share because I'm gonna share. So I've been in education for 6 years. I started off as a para. And then I went into teaching, and I feel like going from para to teaching was one of the best things I can do, because you go from practice into theory in a way, and then you also know how to build relationships. And so I became a teacher, and I do special ed. And then last year I was presented the opportunity to do gifted and talented. And so, which I'm very happy for, and GT has its own problems, but I felt some imposter syndrome because the person before me, older white male, he had not been doing the work he was supposed to do for years. Okay, let's just say 4 years. And so I acquired that position, and I just felt like people in the building had such high expectations of me. Like, you know, all of a sudden there was all these questions about GT, and then like kind of questioning what I was doing. Little did they know I was having to create things that had not been there before. I was having to clean up things that previous person had done. You never even knew who the previous person was until it was brought to the attention that I had acquired this position. And then people, I felt like, kept undermining me. Do you know what I mean? And I felt like I was better able to navigate this now at, 28 as opposed to if I would have been starting earlier. Because first of all, I had Black leadership on my side, you know, had my principal being like, nope, and if you have any questions about GT, you can go ahead and ask me, you know, and I had support, but I did feel some type of way where I was just like, dang, I must not be doing maybe what I'm supposed to do. Then I was like, honey, you clean up 4 years of mediocrity, of lack of accountability, of all these things, you know, and so I feel like now when I look at myself, I'd be like, shoot, you more qualified than a majority of the people in this, you know, in this space. Not this space, but I'm saying like not this space. I'm just saying
in your figurative space. Yes,
but I'm just like no, but I'm like I look at myself now and I'm like, nah, like you are the most qualified person to do it. You know, you're like I was selected for a reason. I have that equity lens. I have so much to offer, and I believe that more now, I think, than when I first started. Because I was just like, ah, shoot, you know. And what you think is just okay, people are like, damn, how do they do that? You know, so. And I think in education that happens a lot, especially when you're young and Black. People think that they're gonna be able to say this, do that. You don't notice
and not
this.
Pay you the whole time.
Being paid.
They gonna do it. You need to be compensated. And then they gonna be like, you ain't gonna get paid, and then we gonna talk shit to your face. What's up?
Right.
Wow. And you're like, I love my job, right?
Yes.
I love my kids, right? Yeah. What comes up for me automatically is when you have to navigate the reality that you have gotten to where you are because you are good and also you have been tokenized, right? And so that's been something that I've been having to really like sit in, right? Like I'm good at what I do, absolutely, hands down. Like if you want to ask for a therapist, I'm gonna be like me. Yeah, I got other people and also like slide through, right? Like, cause I know what I can provide, like in regards to like professorship, like I would love for you to come to my class. Like that's just, yes. And also, I'm very aware that I was tokenized on my way up here, right? And like, that's where I start to feel kind of like, you know, like I was navigating this whole issue, this whole summer. And it's funny as hell because it was over Fenty, all right? Like we're gonna talk. Let's have a conversation, okay? Let's talk about it. Let's talk. Okay, and it's all good. It's not okay. It's me. It's not her. All right. Okay. Anyway, so I have this whole construct with Fenty. I have an assistant that assists, like, because I have a lot of things to do. So I have an assistant. She helps me out. She's from Cameroon. Beautiful, chocolate, dark skin. Right. My younger sister. Beautiful, chocolate, dark skin. I thought I was a dark skinned woman. Like, I've been living through this world as a dark-skinned woman because many of my friends are lighter-skinned women. Many of my friends are biracial women. So every time, like, I'm hanging out and I'm chilling with Black women, like, I'm the darker one, right? And so all of a sudden, I'm like, shit, all right, cool. I'm like, all right, what's up? Like, you know, so when I'm rolling through these spaces, dead ass, bro, dead ass. So like, me and my friend, we go to Sephora, and I'm like, all right, cool. Fenty came out with makeup, bitch. I can wear makeup now. I ain't never worn makeup before, ever. But I was like, I can go to Walmart and get my makeup. Chill, bro. Like, my skin tone ain't nothing wild. Like, but I was like, oh, bitch, no, it's for me. Like, I come in, and I'm with my lighter skinned friends, so I'm like, bitch, let me show you, right? And like, how it goes, it's like 100, 200, 300, 400, right? So I'm like, shit, I'm like a 420. I'm like 435, like, done. What's up? So I slide through, cause I'm like 380. Oh. I was like, wait, what? I'm all putting a 390, 34. I'm like 400, you sure? My friend's like, nah, baby, you like 380, 370. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna get this 380 in the summertime. Like, you know, I'm trying to convince myself, right? And she was like, I mean, it's like funny and he, but like dead ass, like in the back of my head, like I'm doing a lot of like, wait, you're not dark skinned? You've been taking up all this space. I've had access. I've had the ability, and also there's many of darker skinned women, there are many trans women, there are many Black men that can do what you're doing right now. You need to put them there. Like that's been my shit, right? Because like, and that's a whole different, so I gotta recognize I can be here, then I have to recognize I have access, I have to be okay with the fact that I was tokenized, and now I have to be, like, understand the construct that I want to give this to my family. I'm trying to make the community win. So like when there's a yoga class that I don't want to teach, I gotta go, I'm hitting up like my bigger or my fatter Black yoga teacher, and I'm like, hey yo ma, do this class. right? So I can give access, and I think that's where it fucks me up, because I'm like, you deserve this though. Sit back, you good, right? Like, but you have access, right? And I think that's the part of like,
That's like a gym.
that's that therapy shit, right? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but it's just like the reality of like, so I've been tokenized and now I'm here and I have access. What do I do with this access? Right? Do I open it? Do I keep it for myself? Do I gain more? Do I close the door? How do I open the door for the back? How do I heal from the front? It's just like too much. And a nigga like me just want to like sit down sometimes and like be in a bathtub. And I think that's where I struggle the most around the imposter syndrome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right?
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm like,
You said a lot.
yes.
I feel that though, like recently, like I mentioned, just within the past couple of months, we've been hit up by a lot of different media outlets wanting to do interviews and articles on us because we are, again, for women of color, we are Black women representing women of color, and buzzword. So it's like, oh yeah, now they're excited to reach out. But pre-COVID, like we've had, they did not care. They did not care. Yeah, we weren't a buzzword. So it's like when you get those type of opportunities, knowing that it's tokenism, like it's like, do you take it, like, or like, do you just say, nah, I'm good? So it's constantly a push-pull situation, because it's like, obviously this is a great opportunity business-wise. If I were to just be a businesswoman, not a Black businesswoman, this is the smart move to do. But then it's like, okay, but am I like a sellout? Because I know that they just are reaching out to us just because we're Black women who are advocating for other Black women and women of color. Like, so we ended up having a whole issue with one of the recent publications that we ended up doing an article with, because we told them time and time again that we represent, or our company is for women of color. The headliner, though, they chose to say, meet the sisters of the Fitness and Nutrition Club for Black women. And we're like, we told y'all. Yeah, and like, it's one thing where you feel like that's good, you know, for clickbait, but now you're messing with our business, because women of color includes Asian women, Latina women, like, you know, Island Pacificer, like a number of women. So if they read that and automatically like, oh, this isn't for me, that's messing with our money, that's messing with our business, and now we got a problem, you know? So that was something that we had to fight. And thankfully, you know, as a Black woman, it's like, ooh, do you want to fight this? Because now I'm going to be seen, right? It's like, so there's so many levels to the shit that it's crazy, because it's like, I just want to be properly represented. I want y'all to show me the respect that I deserve, and not try to play this out for your own gain. Like, when is it really, truly, genuinely going to be about, like, what we're doing as women, period? Like, just leave it at that, you know?
Yeah.
The buzzwords. I'm like, right now, equity is a hot word in education. DEI
work. DEI work. I'm like, oh, shut up. Because diversity just means y'all want two Black people to sit here.
Right.
And look at you, not know how to deal with our Black asses sitting here looking at you. Right. Like,
yeah.
And not say nothing, but yeah.
Because there's a difference between, you know, inclusion and actually belonging in a space, because they can parade Black faces all over stuff all the time, you know what I mean? But then and then, you know, don't give that person no type of creative opportunities, no type of
money. They don't want to pay Black women. It's that simple, bruh. Golly, just pay me. That's fine, cool. I've been dealing with this shit forever. You want me to continue to do it? That's fine. Pay me for it, because I've been doing it for free this whole damn time. So, like, I don't understand. It's just, I'm asking you for money. I know you got it. I know you have it. You gave it to Tom last week for that fucking hour-long bullshit-ass diversity class. Give me that money and stop playing with me. Like, whatever.
That's real.
So, just thinking about then, earlier we mentioned, like, how do you get people to, you've come up with this business or this idea, whatever else, how do you get people to get on board? You're like, you have to have people want it. You know what I mean? Like, I know that, I was talking about earlier, like, I've been trying to promote businesses and I'd be like, okay, just go follow, like, go, you know, da, 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 da. And then I look and it'd be like 2 people. I'd be like, for real? Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? And people, it's not even monetary support. And like, you don't even have to buy anything. Like, you can literally show support by you go by the shop and just say, what's up? And you know what I mean? There's so many different ways to support, but I just find that when I speak to also a lot of other Black entrepreneurs, they're just like, dude, like, I come up with these things or these events, da, da, da. And sometimes it feels like the support's very passive. Mm-hmm. Like, I can see, you know, I'll scroll past the fact that you just opened that location and be like, oh, that's cool, but don't show up, don't buy nothing, don't share it, you know. And so, like, what has been your experiences in trying to get some solidarity in your initiatives and in your creations? Oh.
Trying to be kind. I think for me in particular, I've had to live it. I have to live it. Like, I've had to. Like, I can't sell you breathing is good for you. I can't sell you yoga is good for you if I'm not doing it, if I'm not practicing it, if I'm not telling you about it, if I'm not going through my own shit and talking to people about it. You know, like, and I think just over years, people have seen that of me. Right? I feel like I'm a very siloed individual. I don't go out often. I tend to be very much so in my house. I might not like it that way. But when I do leave the space, like, I feel like there's many of people in the community that know me, know what I do, have no problem referring me because they've seen me do the things, right? Like, they've seen me talk the shit. They've seen me look peaceful. Like, you know, like, they've seen me navigate arguments in public with a different energy versus other spaces so they can believe it. And they're like, oh, okay, maybe that shit kind of work. I might slide in her DM. You know what I mean? I might look at this crystal she like posted. You know what I mean? I might tap into something else. But I feel like I have to practice what I preach. Because I think that's just the intentionality behind all of it, all the work, especially the type of work I'm selling. If there's no intention behind it, there's no point to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Do you see that for fitness too?
Yeah, absolutely. They want to see transformation, you know.
But within like a couple weeks, you know, they just be like, okay, hold on, my birthday's on the 30th.
Today's the 15th. What can you do?
What kind of tea can I drink? What kind of
which trainer can I wear?
Right. And unfortunately, that is very common, but when you come to Fit and New, you're about to get a rude awakening because you talking to holistic sisters. Like, we do not subscribe to that narrative of quick fixes because the reality is what we're dealing with, like you said, all of this is deep. It's internal. So even when it comes to our health journey, like, you being motivated and you seeing change and wanting that to last, that's deeper than any tea or waist trainer. And so that's what we help them do. We help them identify the deep-rooted issue with that. So in a way, we have to pre-qualify our clients because we know that most of us want to just get quick fixes, and it's like, I'm sorry, but that's not us. Our slogan is literally creating healthy habits that will last a lifetime. So if you want something that lasts a lifetime, it's not going to take you 5 minutes to achieve, you know. It's a process to it, and you just got to be willing to go on that journey, but we try to make it fun. And so I think that's the element that really draws people into us. If you come into our club, super bright, like every wall is a different bright color, you know, positive quotes, carpet is bright, everything is bright and just live and inviting. And so we're just big on energy. And no matter where we're at, whether we're doing like a pop-up situation or you're actually coming to our club, we set the energy to what we know would be attractive, which is just fun. And really, that's how we got our start, was just dance. Starting out with, let's just get our people dancing, because culturally, that's how we move. So Zumba it is. we rocked out Zumba for some years, and then we had to evolve out of that into more of fitness and nutrition professionals, which, going to the last question, like that imposter syndrome, that took some years, because here we are putting in all of our time, money, and energy into evolving into professionals, certified professionals on a higher scale than Zumba instructors. But everybody wanted to keep us in that Zumba box. And it's like, do you know how many certifications, how much time, energy that I've been spending to elevate not only myself, but you as a client, and you still just want to call us the Zumba sisters? Like, can you please recognize that we're trying to grow, and this isn't for us. This is to help our community.
Right.
So it's just a lot to it, but you got to persevere.
I know that there's been a lot more discussions about social justice and anti-racism and things like that, but I feel like something that's lacking within those conversations is colorism.
Yes, thank you.
It is colorism. And no, and it's, I know. Well, I needed the, but it is, and it's just like, I've noticed, because I don't feel like I have the conversation with people in person, usually be on Facebook or something like that, and light-skinned people get triggered by colorism. It's just true. And so I don't know if it's like, because it's just true. It's just true. And so I see a lot of light-skinned people like myself, or biracial women, being like, well, we experience colorism. I'm like,
but
no, you don't. No, you don't. Like, no, it's true. It's true. And light-skinned people, I feel like light-skinned women, I'm just going to say women, I think do a lot of daily damage to darker skinned women.
Yeah, I think colorism was like ingrained in us even before we were here, with slavery and everything like that. So we were always separated. So we looked at each other differently. Like, I remember thinking, oh, she's light skinned, so she's pretty. And I always knew in my head, oh, she's prettier than me because she's lighter, So even growing up in school and stuff, I always knew, oh, you're too dark to wear yellow, so I never wore yellow. Like this orange, you would have never caught me in no orange, yellow, green, nothing. Because I was always told, black girls, you're too dark for that, or you're burnt, or you're whatever. And me and my sister, we're from Africa, so we were always told, oh, you're African this, or you're that, for being dark. So it was ingrained in me that I had to go out of my way to not be black, I guess. So for me, I would go out of my way to date white boys or talk white or do whatever I had to do at that time, because that's what I saw, So I went, but now you can't tell me. But it's a process. It's a process, because I was taught that this wasn't enough from jump. It was almost like this was like a target for me, And it was coming from other black people. It was black boys saying, "Oh, you dark, you dark. You can't be darker than me, or you can't, So that was ingrained in me for so long that I thought that way too. I was like, dang, maybe I am too dark. What do I do? How do I look lighter? How do I, Yeah, I internalized that. And I think even our parents and stuff, they dealt with it probably even worse than we did, And I think colorism is something, you'll never really know what someone's experience is unless you literally walked in their shoes, I've had so many people tell me, nah, it wasn't that bad. I went to school with you. I'm like, did you walk in my shoes? Right. Yeah, I've had people like different, even me and my sister were like literally like a couple shades apart. We've had different experiences. Yeah, literally. Even in the African community, like, oh, the lighter girls were prettier, a lot, so.
Because their proximity to whiteness. When you, I think, are kind of racially ambiguous, you can navigate spaces in ways that are different and I think harming, So I can go over to MLK, all my student stuff, and be one way, and then be up at DU like, yes, they just. And are just, because you're able, I think, to have access to some spaces that would be a lot more difficult for darker skinned women. I think that, and I think that it is a huge disrespect and disservice for light skinned people to think anything other than, than that. Like for any light skinned person to be like, nope, like, I experienced racism too, or I experienced this too. It's like, honey, not even to a fraction. To a fraction of the same as if you were darker.
Have you guys experienced that in the workplace, colorism, or was it more so racism?
I feel like I've experienced all of the isms because one, yes, I'm Black, I'm female, I'm dark skinned, I look like I'm 18, but I'm 33. Ageism. And I speak out, like I'm not quiet, so it's like, yeah, all of that, I've experienced it all, which I think has actually made me more bold and more proud of who I am, because I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes me even more unique. I'll take it. But yeah, I think just, I don't know, when I worked in corporate, absolutely. Like, I used to live in LA working in PR. That was the absolute worst, because it's like, it was for real, like, okay, you got to look a certain way. There's not much that we could change about you. Maybe, like, straighten your hair. Like, they would legit kind of push that, like, going into the hair thing, or, you know, you don't want to look too hip-hoppy.
There's a certain black, it seems like there's almost like a certain, like, dark-skinned woman look that is more accepted. It's almost like small features and perfect skin,
right?
Is what I see, at least in Hollywood.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But even in Hollywood, I was trying to think the other day. I was like, how many dark-skinned Black actresses can I think of who are below 40? So I'm talking about not our, you know what I'm saying? I can't even think of very many young ones.
I just thought of Lupita.
Lupita, right.
But the fact that, like, look, we're all like, that's a problem. That is a problem. Yeah. I think there's a certain look that's like oh,
acceptable.
like
there's an acceptable type of Black.
Yes.
Right? Like, I had to kind of come to the space of, okay, cool, so I'm Black enough, like, I'm a safe Black. Like, my skin tone is safe. Right? Like, I'm Black enough that, like, I'm cool, like I'm Black, like, you know I'm Black, there's no question, comment, concern, like, maybe she might be mixed with something depending upon, like, who she hanging out with, but, like, that's it, but, like, I'm Black. But then also, right, like, I don't know if it's the skin tone, the aura, or something, but white folk are mad comfortable in my presence, right, and they are like, okay, yeah, tell us, Jalisa, tell us about our whiteness, you know, they're very comfortable for that, and so I think I've kind of come to a space of, like, I don't know if it's like this rotisserie chicken gold shit I got going on, but, like, there's something.
You're going to be looking at the next fancy rotisserie
I'm like,
chicken gold.
Y'all ain't got that one? Y'all ain't got that one? It's not it? All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But just, like, navigating, so, like, what does safety look like for other individuals, right? Like, that see us, right? Because I feel like even when I was in high school, like, I didn't date Black men because Black men didn't like me. They didn't like me at all. Like, not one bit. Like, I didn't start dating Black men until I was like 22 years old, 23, bruh. And it was like, they was cute, but they wasn't fucking with the kid. And I was like, all right, cool. I guess I should assimilate closer to whiteness because that's obviously the dudes that are talking to me currently. So shit, let me go ahead and see if I like hockey. Like, the fuck, right? Like, cause, yeah. And so now we fast forward and I'm just like, this is what I got. And so it's just like even navigating some of those conversations with my lighter skinned friends of like, you can't keep telling me that your dad was as dark as me.
That has nothing to do with I'm so tired of hearing that.
You can't say that shit, bro. I'm not even like, okay, congrats. Like, I don't even know what to tell you. Between you and your mama, I don't know what to tell you. Thank you. Can we continue this conversation?
And you know what? And it's just like, I think sometimes when I enter spaces, especially all Black spaces, I feel like there's not really attention, but kind of like, because I know that I'm not. Especially when my hair is like this and stuff, it's always kind of like, she could be Black, but maybe not, and there's always kind of a pause. And I think that's partially due to the damage that light-skinned people have done to Black people. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that there's plenty of light-skinned girls who have, like,
caused damage.
And so then when they see me sit down, it's kind of like, oh, what you?
Is she the fake one?
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so, yeah.
That's some healing than what happened.
But I hate when people try to credential, you know, my dad was dark as you, or I got Black kids. I have mixed kids, or I'm like, you know who else have mixed kids? Slave owners. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Thomas Jefferson. Look at
Yeah. So now how do we teach the next generation about this colorism? Do you think it's getting any better from how we were coming up, or do you think it's being more vocal? Being more vocal now?
Let me tell you from the schools, okay? Because this is how deep it is. So I teach middle school and high school, right? Middle school already. We don't like so-and-so, or so-and-so's cute for a dark-skinned girl or for a dark-skinned boy. I hear that, but you have to, but think about, depending on whose classroom they're in, right? If it's a white teacher, they're probably not going to put a lot of energy into that comment. They're probably just going to be like, don't say that. And then, or even if they say anything, you know what I mean? I think sometimes they feel like they're not even equipped to address it. So they're probably just going to let it slide by, right? They have a black teacher, then it's going to be a whole, like I've done, like you want to, okay, so we're going to do a whole unit now about like, you know what I mean? And so that's part of it. But also if you just look at women who are kind of famous right now, like Cardi, whatever, Mulatto, but that's who they're listening to. That's who they're listening to. That's who the kids are listening to. And that's the imagery that they're bombarded with constantly. Short, thick, light-skinned girl. Maybe identify with black, maybe not, but just like there's a certain image. And so I just think that it starts so young, like even you're mentioning with your sister. So I have two sisters and we're all Korean and black, but like my youngest sister's lighter than me. My middle sister is like more chocolate, you know, and then there's me. And my youngest sister and my middle sister receive different treatment all the time, especially from my Korean grandma. Like Asians have a huge thing about colorism. And so it's just like, or even I have friends who are darker skinned and they're with a light skinned black man, not no mixed man. He's a light skinned black man. And she was breastfeeding and somebody asked if it was her baby. No. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying the colorism starts so young. It starts so young. And so I just think that like, unless the same way we're asking white people to be consciously anti-racist in their actions and in their thoughts, it's the same thing with light skins and stuff like that. Like you need to be anti-colorism in your daily interactions and stuff and recognize when you are being tokenized to, like you're saying tokenized, when you are tokenized, you know, and put in these positions.
Looking back from where like I was to now, I feel like there's more representation of, you know, women that are chocolate. I like to say chocolate because, you know, it's a little more sexy than dark skin. So I'm going to coin us as chocolate. Choose your flavor. Yeah.
I said rotisserie chicken, girl, so yeah, you know, chocolate sound way better than that. I'm vegan, so I don't even know.
We can say almond, roasted almond, something like that, honey roasted. But just to see more women in the media that look like me, it's like, okay, maybe there is some change happening. But I don't know what the younger kids see. Maybe they're not paying attention to Lupita, you know? Maybe she's not a big deal to them. But for me, I'm like, yes, like, because I didn't, like growing up, I didn't feel like there was many women out there that was about, you know, I'm thinking like early 90s. I can't think of nobody. I used to like love Brandy, but everybody would talk shit about Brandy. Like she wasn't cute enough.
They called her E.T. everything.
But I held on. I'm like, but I'm gonna stay her fan because she representing like, and she's not even as dark as I am. Yeah. But I'm like, this is all I got, so I'm gonna hold on to it. She's famous, so.
Yeah. Well, thank you all again for your time. I'm like, this went by fast. I was like, I'm like, dang, I have so much more I wanted to hear and say. Really. So, but thank you again so much for just having, just share the space and being vulnerable and also just sharing all of your experiences. So I look forward to reconvening again, whether it's in front of the camera or not.
Definitely.
Catfish Haven or something. Gets us back together. But thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You ladies are incredible.
To show you what I won't always have to take control. Baby, you're so